everybody, I'm Tommy, and you are on the boat. Working like a Swiss watch already, and we're not even a couple of seconds in. Do me a favor, smack the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notification. Before we get rolling on this, it has been reported that the guy that was the wannabe rapist, a little early for that word, from the Pima County Deputy's Department, the guy that wanted to get the girl to give him a mouth hug to drop all the charges against him, it had been reported that the guy was 6'6" tall. He is not. He is. He has the same name as a guy whose booking sheet reports him as 6'6" tall. The booking sheet on the guy that was just arrested does not give us a height nor a weight, which I find kind of interesting. I even tried to go through and get a driver's license to get his height and weight. None of it. But he does not look to be that tall. Punisher, good to see you. Roberta, how are you? Hi, Heather. Hi, Buffy. Blue Jean Lady, Nursykins, how are you? Hey, Roberta. Only 65 people hit the like button. Why am I not surprised? Been that kind of day. But here's what we're going to do on this one tonight, because we're talking about you're joining us from 20,000 feet in the air, as long as you're not in the cockpit. Believe it or not, someone did that once on here. F around to find out. Good to see you. Hey, Tracy, how are you? Brock Bandy, glad you're here. Hey, Kristen Melinda, glad you're here. Michelle, Jenny Ellen, good to see you. Oh, you did. You told me. And he's busted, right? He did it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a dick. The guy's MO matches nothing. You do understand this, right? The fact that this guy is the right height does not make this guy a good subject for this. His MO is, I want to molest women who are very close to my age, who I am in absolute control over, and I'm not going to kidnap them, in spite of the fact that this was a kidnapping, is how it was stated. He didn't kidnap anybody. What he did was he held someone against his will while he tried to talk her into doing sexual acts because he was in a position of authority. It's now being alleged that he has done that before. That doesn't match up with the MO of a guy that covers his entire body, right, and then goes out to abduct an octogenarian. That doesn't make sense, right? Thieves, criminals, all of these people tend to have MOs that line up with the things that they do. It's why the two backpack guy doesn't smell right, because he's walking around like it's Saturday afternoon and the whole world can get a good look at his face, right? That doesn't match up with the guy at the front door who literally is busting his ass to make sure that nobody sees this person. Hey, Jenny Ellen, if you turn out to be right on this, I will come on here and give you a 45-minute apology. But if it happens again the next day, I'm still going with the numbers. And the numbers are, this guy's MO is he likes to be in a position of a power over somebody, which is probably why the sick bastard got this job, right? He wants to be able to put people into a position where they can't say no. And if you think this is the guy, knock yourself out. Keep working on it. I'm sure you'll come out on the winning end of this. But it does not match up, and it is never going to. So today, since we don't know whether or not Tommaso and Annie, that would be Neckbeard. Look at this. 5 of you. I really do appreciate that. Booger Presley says 9 out of 10. It's the beard. What's up, Tommy? Well, here's what I'm going to say. Today, we're just going to let you all do a little critical thinking and tell me why this doesn't make sense, because we don't know. You hear me? We don't know whether or not they did anything. So we play the numbers. And here's one that I want you to go through. I have said it doesn't make sense for them to hide their face. People say, well, you don't know how anyone acts. So this is what I would like to do today. And you can tell me how you would act. And please do so in the chat. It'll make this a lot more fun, right? Tell me why I'm wrong on this one, and I'll more than happily defer to the person that explains why this may not be a good theory. So we're going to take them out of this equation, and we're going to put all of us in this equation. So Sunday rolls around, and your mom doesn't show up. If you're not a Christian, your mom doesn't show up for something that she does every Sunday. And those people call you, and they say, hey, your mom's a no-show. She didn't call. She didn't do anything. That doesn't happen. So you get in your car and you drive what's going to be about a 10-minute drive to your mother's house. Now, if it's me, here's the first thing I'm doing when I get in the car. Maybe even before I get in the car. I'm calling Johnny Scoville. I'm calling Sister Scoville and our baby sister, who we don't nickname because we don't want her getting terrorized simply because she's related to us. But I would call my siblings and I would go, hey, have you heard from Mom? Mom's missing. Right now, people say they can't find her. That phone call is not made. They drive all the way over to the house. Allegedly, they got the call from the cops from the people at the church sometime between 11 and 11:20. They drive over there. They make the call to the cops, who show up there just before the noon hour. They still didn't call the siblings and say, hey, has Mom talked to you? Did she say anything about a meeting she might be going to or anything like that? Have you heard anything from Mom? No. They call the cops first. Then they call all the local hospitals. Wouldn't the logical thing to do to say, maybe Mom told Savannah she was going somewhere. I'm going to call Savannah and find out. Or maybe, Cameron knows where mom is, but she doesn't call her siblings. She calls all of the local hospitals to find out whether or not an ambulance had come out, things of that nature. At no point, not even the cops go, hey, did you call your siblings? Maybe they know where she is. Nada. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Savannah is at Carson Daly's house. You guys know who Carson Daly is. They work together. She was at a play date at his house. It was an overnighter. Carson's married. It's nothing funky. She goes over there. She's got her own room. She brings her kids, and her kids get to play with their kids. You understand? Hello, Reese. How are you, babe? Heard it was a hell of a show. I only caught about half of it. I'm in a bit of a mood. But I'm glad to see you. You always make my day brighter, and that is the gospel truth. With regard to Pima County cop arrested, don't you think it's almost probable that if he was willing to break the law for his own motives with that woman, that he might also be willing to, it doesn't make sense to me. As a criminal, I was willing to rob a bank. But if you called me and said, I'll give you twice as much money for robbing a bank, if you go snatch an 85-year-old woman for me, I would have gone, you bumped your head. What are you, stupid? Criminals tend to stay within the crimes that they feel comfortable committing. This was a 22-year-old guy. First of all, I don't know who hires a 22-year-old guy to go do a crime like this. I mean, honestly, you're going to want to find a professional that you think might be able to get away with it, number one. This guy was so stupid that he parked across the driveway at a police department where he knew there were cameras everywhere and spent hours inside, just under 2 hours inside the car trying to talk this woman into blowing him. Sorry, right? That's how this went down. Showed her porn that obviously if she snitches, might not be a good idea to still have that porn on your phone, but he didn't get rid of it. This guy is so dim-witted, it is beyond belief. Do I think he could have pulled that off? I don't think he could have found his way to the front door. From a criminal standpoint, this guy's not a criminal. He's a sexual deviant is what he is. He's a pervert, and because he had a badge on and the person that's being brought in his mind is less than human, see, they're a criminal. It was the woman's first time being arrested. She has a husband. She's a legit chick. But he absolutely thought this person, who's 22, the deputy that had the woman in the car, this was a big story that they said, this guy just kidnapped somebody. Now, kidnapping is a term that they use when you hold somebody against their will in an automobile. It's not the same thing as a kidnapping in the sense of what happened to Nancy Guthrie, but people hear kidnapping, and they equate the two, and boom, we're good to go. This guy is a dim-witted dolt, not a criminal, an idiot, right? He did this while being filmed. So when they pulled the film back, right? When they pulled the film, they could see him holding up his phone to her, right? Showing porn. They could see all of this. This guy's not burdened by deep thought. He may be the dumbest criminal I've ever seen. In fact, I don't like calling him a criminal, right? What he is a sex offender with a badge. Reese had a breakdown, or is it a breakthrough? She asked us a question related to Easter or Holy Week, as some Christians call it. And it took a while to explain to her, Lent is a Catholic thing. Love you, Reese. Okay, well, thanks. I'm sure that she and I are going to talk about this. We usually do go over those things, but thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, he's a complete idiot. And he just seems more of an idiot the longer this goes. And the fact that they said this has happened in the past means he's got an MO. And his MO is, if I could pick a girl up, right? My gut says they're going to find someone who agreed to this, right? My gut says they're going to find at least one person that says, hey, you know what? I gave him a blowjob so that he said he would drop the charges. And then he didn't show up at court that day. It wasn't his arraignment. People keep saying that. It was a detention hearing to decide whether or not he would be let out on bail or on his own recognizance or some such. At that, the prosecutor said, this ain't the first guy. This is not the first time this has happened. So I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot more about this guy, but we're not going to hear about it vis-a-vis this case. Now, the Pima County Sheriff's Office has already released a statement saying this guy has nothing to do with the Nancy Guthrie case. And people are going, well, how can they tell that? I don't know. Maybe he was working that night. Huh? He was a guy that worked out of jail. If he was in the jail when that happened, then we're all having this conversation for absolutely nothing. But we will continue to chase that down, assuming that the FBI isn't smart enough to check this guy's work record. You follow me? It's easy to run with something when you have this much information and say, ooh, this is a perfect fit. It's not a perfect fit, in my humble opinion. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. But it's a jump to say the guy's willing to say to someone, yeah, I would absolutely, right? I would absolutely trade a mouth hug for me not showing up in court. Does that mean he's a guy that'll say, yeah, I will go and rob a woman, right, and steal her from her house at 2:00 in the morning? That's a bit of a stretch. And if you did that, just on the outside chance that that happened, do you think the person would still be in a mindset to go, yeah, they're looking for me. It's the only thing they talk about on the news down here. I think I'm going to try to rape a girl in the parking lot of the police station while I'm on duty. Huh? Does that one make sense? Chef Brian K., I was so close to putting up your tinfoil hat picture, but I ran out of time. Don't trip, people. On our next tinfoil hat show, I'm going to be putting up a photo of Chef Brian K., because he looks fantastic in a tinfoil hat. If you send him in, you could be up there too. Well, here's the thing. They don't have a reason to release this, and I'll tell you why. Sure, if they release this, it's going to say to us, this guy's not a suspect. It's also going to jeopardize this guy's case, because in theory, that information is still something that is protected by the employer and the employee constructs. By the way, I looked this up. I actually looked this up. He's been fired. They still are not going to say he's a bad employee or do anything like that until the end of this case. But to say he's not a suspect means that they at least chased this down and said, this is why this guy can't be a suspect. Now, do I believe that Sheriff Nanos is good enough to blow this? I do. However, I don't believe that the FBI is. And we can agree to disagree on that. But I absolutely do not believe for a second that they said, nothing to see here, without checking to see that there was nothing to see here. They would love for this guy to be it. You understand that? They're struggling. The whole world is crapping on them, and they are struggling to find somebody. Nothing would make them happier than to be able to wrap this up with a bow at the same time as sticking a weird-ass sex offender behind prison bars for a long period of time. That's wrapping this entire good thing up. The FBI is never going to say that, Jenny Ellen. The FBI does not communicate with us on this. The Sheriff's Department does. And it was the Pima County Sheriff's Office. My understanding is it's the Pima County Sheriff's Office, but they've said this man is not a suspect. And I promise you they didn't just go, nah, not a suspect. If I had to guess, I would say that his work schedule made this a very difficult thing for them to say he was there that night. That's my guess. Someone will leak it. Someone that works with him will link it. That's my personal opinion. Back to the day that this happened, right? Well, listen, you cannot believe anything that comes out of the sheriff's office, and I respect that. But it's a leap to say the sheriffs don't tell us the truth. This guy did it. That's a leap. That's worse than the sheriff's department saying something that you don't believe. To just go from this guy used his authority to try to get a sex act performed on him by someone he thought was a piece of shit convict, from there to he was at Nancy Guthrie's house, right? And has not changed his lifestyle, by the way, right? If he's the one that did this, he's continuing to try to sexually assault women at work. That, to me, really doesn't pass the smell test. Whoever did this on the 31st of that month is shaking like a woman's adult sex toy. Feel me? I doubt they're showing up at work, especially if work requires putting on a badge. But if you show up, it's yes, sir, no, sir, and walking people down the tier. It is absolutely that this is not logical that he would go in there and be like, got another one, right? Another fly in the web. Let's see if I can get this girl to go to the hotel down the street with me, which is one of the things that he said. We can leave right now and head down to the hotel. You drove into the parking lot of the jail. You're going to turn around now and take her to a motel? This guy doesn't seem like he's burdened by deep thought. You understand? How the hell do you believe you're going to get away with that? But he's still rolling like, hey, I'm ready to do this. So back to the morning of. Savannah Guthrie has been spending the weekend at Carson Daly's house where her daughters and his kids can have a play date. She drives home from there, and by all accounts, unless I'm blowing this, so let's give it an hour in either direction. So by all accounts, she gets a phone call from Annie to say mom is missing. 4 hours, conservatively, 5 hours on the outside from when they found out that mom was gone. You all have parents. We all have parents. If you got a phone call that said mom was missing, would it take you 5 hours to call your siblings? Let's say 4. Let's say my math is out there, and we'll put it at 3. It's not out there, by the way, right? It isn't. But let's say it's 3 hours. Would you call the hospitals before you, for all you know, you call the hospitals, you do all this, then you call Savannah, and she goes, yeah, she said she was leaving with Lynn. She wouldn't be back for a day.
It'd be measured in minutes, not hours.
Johnny Scoville says, my life would be measured in minutes, not hours. Right? At that point, you would have been calling. I'm telling you, before I got there, the first thing you eliminate is the outside chance that she told mom something she'd be doing. Huh? Is this logical? Why do you wait that long? It doesn't make any sense. And by all accounts, they have a good relationship, right? She gets along just fine with Annie and with Tommaso. I'll tell you something else that was odd. In all of the interview that she did with Hoda, with the entire interview she did with Hoda, she never said, accusing them is so false. These people are innocent. It's not what she said. She said it's irresponsible. Words mean things. That's a really unusual phrase to say. She also did not say they polygraphed us. They took a polygraph. You guys need to get off their back. She had an opportunity to shut this down. She didn't. Why? Well, maybe they didn't take polygraphs. She still could have shut it down. She could have said to the world, I looked into their eyes. Trust me when I tell you they didn't do it. Tommaso loved my mother more than anybody on earth. They were so damn close. You have no idea how close they were. This isn't just irresponsible. It's stupid. The man is innocent. Those words didn't come out of her mouth. If my mom disappeared and the whole world was blaming Johnny Scoville, watch my interview. Right? Now think about you in the same condition. You're doing an interview for the entire world to see. Literally, I don't just mean Tucson, right? The entire world. This is an interview that tens, if not hundreds of millions of people are going to see. And you got a shot of shutting this down. You're not going to go, Johnny didn't do it. Nothing pisses me off more in the world. She said, I feel guilty that they're being blamed. And going after them is irresponsible. Nothing she said in there sounded like she was actually pissed about it. And I think, personally, if you do that, then maybe tips stop coming in about them. And I think that in her head, she has got to be asking questions like, 4 hours to call me when mom disappears? In fact, she said in the interview, she said, well, then call the hospitals. And what did Annie say? We already did. Called the hospitals, called all the ambulance companies, but didn't call your sister to say, do you happen to have information on whether or not mom is somewhere other than home? That's my first call. I promise you. In fact, if I can't get my mom on the phone, in one call, I call my sister. Every time. I'll go, hey, what's up with mom? She didn't answer her phone. She's like, she doesn't hear it ring half of the time. Just ring it again. I talked to her like 10 minutes ago. I do this once a week. But I got a call that said that she could be missing, and I don't make that call. In fact, I drive all the way over there. I call 911. I see blood on the mother-loving porch. I see blood inside. I find her cell phone. I find her watch. I find her wallet, right? Nothing's missing but mom, and there's blood all over the place. I'll call my sibling in about 4 hours. Does that pass the smell test to you? Does it? And I know people say, you know, it's the fog. I actually put this to 7 AI models just to make sure that I'm not a douche. Now, it's funny because AI is not a human being. And what AI does is it spits out 600 reasons why someone might do that. And then it occurred to me that I'm not talking to a carbon-based life form, right? AI has never loved anybody. They don't know what it feels like to have a mother. But I'll tell you something right now. My first phone call would have been to my older sister. No disrespect. But the odds are more likely that she would have been talking to my older sister than my brother. Then I would have gone to my other sister because they all talk nonstop and we're out of the country. But I would have called all 3 of them before I got to the friggin' house. But you see the fog of war in terms of true crime? What had people been reporting in the beginning? Why did Savannah call a politician before she called the police? Well, we know that ain't the truth now, don't we? Right? It was 4 hours the police had been called before she ever talked to that politician. Think about it. But we all knew, right? How many people were going, it's an Epstein thing. I can prove it. She called a politician before she called the cops. That proves it's Epstein. It's the fog, right? That happens in cases like this. But then shit starts to settle a little bit. And you get an opportunity to look at things and kind of be logical. And you start going, wait a second. 4 hours. And again, it could have been 5. Right? Could have been 5. Debbie Love and Life, good to see you. By the way, if you've not gotten over there and hit smack on my wife's channel and hit subscribe, check that channel out and watch it. I'm not going to do another show until you do. That's it. Ending today. And you got to get over in here and hit Johnny Scoville. You know, funny thing happened on Johnny's channel today. A guy said, "Hey, you got a twin brother that does content?" That always makes me laugh, man. Always makes me laugh.
You were the older brother.
Yeah, I know. Johnny told him I was the older brother. That kind of crap happens all the time. I'm kind of used to it.
I did.
This is logic, right? This is pure logic. Tell me I'm wrong. Would you call hospitals, call the police, stand there with the police, walk around, watch them take a shirt so that they could get a scent of your mother and send out the dogs? And you haven't called your older sister yet? Or is it a younger sister? Either way. You didn't call your sister. You didn't call your brother. You watched the police dogs sniff off looking for mom, but didn't make a phone call. I don't care what kind of fog is going on in your head. That makes about as much sense as the guy thinking he was going to get away with parking in the parking lot of the police department and trying to get a chick to give him a mouth hug. It's my dad and sister. They don't talk, and I would call her. See that? Even if you don't get along. One thing I'm hung up on is why they make Nancy Uber to their house or for dinner. Something is off with that. Yeah, I agree that doesn't seem right. However, as a logical cat, I can come up with 4 or 5 reasons why that might happen. They don't have the car there. Tommaso's off doing something. His band's together. She calls over and she's like, "Yeah, he isn't here yet. I wish he was." She says, "Don't trip. I'll jump in an Uber." Right? That's half-ass logical. Come up with the same thing and tell me why you don't call your brother or sister for 4 or 5 hours after you've already talked to the police. Put that in, and we're still looking at 3.5 to 4.5 hours after you call 911. But you're going to call everybody else, right? Everybody else.
There's no blood. There's blood there? Come on.
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense, especially with blood there. Mary, thank you so much. You're keeping free speech alive. And I think I said rape 37 seconds in, which means the odds of anybody seeing this one ain't real good. That's one of the words they don't like you using. Apparently, it's too hard on the advertisers. I can use my wife's name and call her a mother effing bad mother slut, and no one's going to care. But if I come here and say rape, which happens every day in true crime, I'm going to have my stuff banned. Have they found Nancy's body? No, they have not. They have not. And this doesn't add up at all. I get more hate mail than you could possibly imagine. I can't believe what you're doing to these people because my 5,000 views are screwing up Neckbeard's life. However, this is true crime, and we look for things that don't make sense. And now that the story has come out about how she was contacted and what that morning looked like, you can put your lips right on my backside if you tell me that that's normal and that that's what would have happened in your family. In the worst times of my life, when I didn't get along with my family, my first call would have been to every relative I had to say, "Did mom tell you she was going to be somewhere?" That's logic. Screw everything else. That's pure logic. And very often we jump to, there was a person that she fired in 1977 who at the time said, "I used to really play a game that was an awful lot of fun that had to do with kidnapping," right? We look for all kinds of weird stuff. Apparently, according to what has been said, the second call after Savannah was to the brother. So again, 4.5 to 5 hours later, which would make sense because I would imagine that if Johnny Scoville called me and said, "Hey, mom's missing," if he hadn't called my sister yet, I would have hung up the phone and called her. Right? This is what families do, especially families who are close. Now, admittedly, they're somewhere else and you're in the local town, but your first thought ought to be, maybe mom already talked to her, right? My sister's rich as shit. Maybe she told mom to go to the airport. Maybe she's got this really cool assignment. She wanted mom there. Right? Maybe mom ran out real quick because she had a 5:05 flight. Something logical would be, I got to make sure from my family that they didn't get information on mom and why she was going to be missing. Well, watching a video of some retired law enforcement, they said there's a lot of red flags on Savannah Guthrie interview with Hoda. They said it's suspicious as hell with some of the things that she said. I've heard other people say that too. Here's the thing on that. I have no skill in that. But these are the same FBI people that in the beginning were telling us that this was a burglary gone wrong. And as a criminal, on day one, I went, no effing way is this a burglary. Then they bring in the person that actually works burglaries in the Catalina foothills. And they ask him, what does he say? No chance. No chance. Burglars don't break into houses at night. It's a great way to get shot. You also don't want to break into a house where you know someone is. Now, if you're one of those people with balls this big and a brain this big, and you break into there, you see a bedroom door that's locked, you're not going in it. You're not going in it. Because the person in the bed could have a pistol under their pillow or right at the nightstand. If you did get in, you're going to steal whatever you can. You're going to get out as quick as possible. She didn't have hearing aids in, probably didn't hear it until they were on top of her, right? But it doesn't make sense. So I'm not going to now start believing these people who 7 days ago said, no, I think this is targeted. I don't think this is a burglary gone wrong. They seemed like asshats up until this point. Now I'm going to start listening to them and go, yeah, no, maybe they're right on this. I'm sorry, with all due respect, very few of them have seemed to have anything right. This plain and simple, going forward with true crime. You break into places at night if it's a business.
Keeping your cards close to the chest, explain that?
Keeping your cards close to your chest could explain some of the reasons that we don't know a lot of stuff about this, as Johnny Scoville says. That's the truth. However, this thing with Savannah, if Savannah's that bad an actress, you want to tell me she's been doing bad in all those videos? Maybe I'm just really gullible, man. Maybe I'm Captain Save-A-Ho. But watching that, I was literally in tears watching what she was going through with her missing mother. And what do I say when I bring that up? People go, it's because she's not wearing makeup. She just wants to be a bigger star. So she blew off the Olympics. That seems to pan out, right? This definitely helped her friggin' career. I mean, that was an opportunity to go over there and really, I did save this hoe. You're not a hoe anymore. That that people say that, babe. You marry 9 people and people just start calling you that. But there's no reason or rhyme to any of this. Your autocorrect wanted to call me Timmy. I'll answer to it. Don't trip. My mom calls me my brother's name all the time. It never stops me. MJ, good to see you. So this is just pure logic. And to be really honest, people go, I love your straight approach. I take these things always as pure logic. And I do it from the criminal standpoint, right? I don't know how people are going to act in every situation. I know without a mother-loving doubt that if you tell somebody that their parents are missing, the first thing they're going to do is start calling siblings to see if they can explain that mystery, right? That makes sense. Let's see if they have anything to weigh in on. Nah, we'll wait until the dogs are looking for him. We'll wait until it's damn near on the news, and then we'll call our sister. That doesn't pass the smell test. Dr. Gary Bricado of the Cold Case Foundation commented on the podcast last night that January 11th, the date of Nancy's abduction, are significant in the Wiccan calendar. I couldn't tell you whether or not that's true or not. I can tell you this. Let's say that I was really embedded in something religious of any kind, right? Pick a religion. And I'm not going to do dirt on the eve of one of the biggest holidays I'm not going to do something that leads a little breadcrumb trail right back to us. And everybody knows that Neckbeard and his wife are not the same religion as Nancy. You got to realize that they're probably going to investigate that. But could be. It absolutely could be. There's still a lot of stuff that makes me go, about the people in this weird sex cult. By the way, kink shame? I don't care if you want your wife smacking your bare ass with a dead fish. If it's your get down and you're both into it and the fish is already dead, I don't care. Right? For real. You want to hang by hooks, while you masturbate? Hey, knock yourself out. Certainly not how I'm going to get down. But I don't care. I'm not kink shaming. But it does seem like a lot of the people who were at least on the fringes of this seem to be involved in that cult. However, we don't know how they decided to get onto any of these people. What if someone called and said, hey, I'm involved in a sex cult, and I saw these people, and one of them works at a car dealership, and he's sketchy as hell. I think this guy sells drugs. And you understand? Take it backwards instead of forwards. We assume all of these people are involved because they raided the house. For all we know, they got a tip that turned them on to the sex cult. And that's why 3 or 4 of the people that popped up right in the beginning happened to be in it, right? Critical think that thing. Take it back to the beginning. Maybe it was a bad tip that led to the guy that owned the MG Motors and the guy that was in the car with him and all of that stuff. Maybe all of that is because they were tipped off to that sex cult and it hasn't panned out. Why would a family with that much money not have a subscription to their Google cameras in the house, especially with a disabled mom? Well, a lot of people say that. And I'll tell you something. I would have it. So I can't answer that question. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe the mother just said, I've never once looked back at my camera after when somebody first appears at my door. The elderly tend to be far more judicious with their finances. Now, maybe she pays all of her bills. Maybe her daughter sends her $100,000 a month to pay those bills. But as they get older, I remember my dad saying to me, I would love to have a Mercedes-Benz. I said, buy it. Why would you not buy it? He said, because what am I going to do? Drive it for a year and a half? It's just taking money out of the mouths of my kids that I want to leave to them. right? When you start getting towards the end, you start thinking a lot of different thoughts. And again, I'm not saying I'm right, but you can critical think and come up with reasons why maybe that happened. And maybe they didn't even know about it. Or you could say, maybe Annie and Neckbeard paid the bills and they decided to turn that shit off because they didn't want to get caught. But we don't know, right? So you can theorize on this, but I don't know that one makes it absolutely this something nefarious here. Why would Annie think Nancy had plans with Savannah when they had only seen each other a few hours before? Oh, I see what you're saying. Because Annie and they had seen each other the previous night. Maybe she got up in the morning, called her mother and said, hey, right? Your first call would not be to them because you had spent the night with them last night. My first call would still be to them. And I mean, I can see where you're coming from. She was with her the night before, but now she's missing. So maybe call Savannah and say, have you heard from mom? That wouldn't be your first phone call. Do me a favor. If that would not be your first phone call, put in the chat, not my first phone call. What would your first phone call be? If it wasn't going to be to relatives, don't tell the world everything that we're into, kid. Come on. Just for the record, I didn't force this on her. She brought the fish thing up herself. Just for the record, had nothing to do with me. Fish me, baby, one more time. You're so close. Can someone time out the hot chick with the wrench? There's something so wrong with my wife. Odd, Annie had the hospitals and ambulance companies' phone numbers at her fingertips, but not her brother and sisters. Well, I think, in this day and age, if I were to go right now and say that woman's name that starts with an S and tell her I wanted the number for all the local hospitals, they'd find it for me really quickly. So I think she has her sister on speed dial, which makes this a little bit more weird that it didn't happen. Roy says, Iceman here, have no fear. Marines on the scene. You can sleep well tonight. And I probably will not. It's been one of those days, people. You have no idea. Someday I'll tell you the story, but it won't be today. Nano stated Tommaso and Annie and Nancy did not have subscriptions in any, in my opinion, on the 11th. That was Tommaso standing out there and wanted to see how much the camera picked up. Interesting, Eddie. Interesting. That could be. Yeah, see, this is pretty common. This is actually pretty common. Anyone ever watch Dr. G Explains? He's a body language expert, and I asked him to do one on the SG interview with Hoda. Oh, and the guys at the behavior panel are going to do that as well. They will be the first to tell you, though, that although these are tools, they are not a science. Did Annie call her mom's cell phone after the church called? I would assume so. They have not released that, but you would assume so. Even if they did it, that's going to be the first call because you got to cover your ass, right? So I'm sure that she called every 5 minutes, or at least till they got there and realized that the phones were inside. At 85, my parents had none. I moved in, but still no doorbell cam. Oh, it's coming. That a girl, Tracy Pratt. That a girl. Why do you think the back door was propped open? For what? I have no idea. I really don't. I have no idea. And it's weird because the way that they talk about it, there are people that say, no, it was wide open. There are people that say, no, it was just propped open. So there was a gap. And we don't know. We have no idea. And again, that could be them keeping the cards close to the chest. If you're the FBI and you watched how well Nanos did in the first 2 weeks of talking to the public, would you want that asshat talking to the public? Would you? Because I sure as hell wouldn't. My sister would call me, can't get a hold of my parents, live 2 miles away, go over and tell them they didn't hang up their phone, right? This is what I'm talking about. Jen Craven says, this may be a gut feeling, but I have a feeling the case is about to be cracked wide open. This has been absolutely insane. I do agree with you. This has been absolutely insane. You know what makes that feeling go away quickly? If you smack the like button, then hit subscribe and hit the bell for notification. If that doesn't work and you still feel yourself feeling like this is just wrong, then head on over there and do it at my wife's channel at Relatable Reese, and then do it at my brother's at Chase the Heat. You will find you'll feel better. If you don't, I'll give you your money back. Tommy, JLR went back to Houston. Well, I know I feel better about that. You can put a 3 in the chat if you feel like with boots on the ground, this shit's about to get solved. I'm sorry. That was probably not right. Maybe the first perp who was the mastermind popped the door for the next guy to get in before they called the porch guy. I think, and this is my opinion, and you know something, opinions change and things happen. And but from the very first day, I have said this is a 3-man gig. And the reason that I say that is if somebody said to me as a retired criminal, and I will reiterate because I get emails about this, I wouldn't do this. There's nothing like this on my jacket. I never did this kind of crime. But if they said, I want you to do a bank and we want you to go in with guns and take the vault and do all of this, you have in your head, how many people would I need for this? If they said, I want you to go snatch an 84-year-old woman, I'd want 3 people. I wouldn't want the car in the driveway where the people that drive through could go, why is there a car in her driveway, right? I would want a getaway driver down the street, contact either by a burner cell phone or maybe a walkie-talkie or something like that. I would want my getaway driver so that I could call him and say, bring it up, we got her. And I would want 2 people to go in. And I've said that from day one. I think this is a 3-man gig, but we'll find out. Did the brother deal with the Mexican cartel during his service? Not to the best of my knowledge. To the best of my knowledge, he was flying jets, right? And he was doing it with the Green Mountain Boys. And that is a Air National Guard crew from an Air National Guard crew from the state of Vermont. Green Mountain Boys, named after the first original guerrilla fighters run by Ethan Allen. Surprised you didn't know that. Were Annie and Guthrie cleared by the FBI? Well, who knows, right? I don't believe for a second that that they have been. If they have, they should have told us how they cleared them, and maybe I would stop doing shows. So would everybody else. Do you think there is more to the California ransom guy? I do not. And the reason that I don't think that is people come in one of 2 varieties. There are people that will not talk to the police. When they say, we'd like to ask you a couple of questions, you could say, I'd like to talk to an attorney. That's one group of criminal. The other group, you got to smack with a phone book to get them to shut up because they believe if they keep talking, they might be able to talk their way out of trouble. And then there's kind of a third group where somebody hires an attorney and is still willing to talk to them, but the attorney says, don't answer that, right? So you seem like you're cooperating, but it's not the same sense of the word. This guy got picked up and in 30 seconds said, I did it. I reached out to him. I was trying to get money. I heard about the crime. Nobody was doing well with the ransom. And I thought maybe they would pay me. Okay. If you're the guy that's going to tell on yourself that fast, you're going to tell on any of your co-conspirators even quicker, right? He told on himself, but didn't tell on the co-conspirators. And that doesn't pass the smell test to a retired criminal. The day the attorneys did the walkthrough, they looked at something on the sidewalk near the back gate. In my opinion, they took her out the back and the blood at the front and foyer is a distraction with an eyedropper. What did it distract them from? I've heard people say the blood at the front door is a distraction. It didn't distract them from continuing to look, right? So I don't know where the benefit is. If they think she went through the front door, why is that better? They didn't walk that woman through the washes. They didn't. You have to see what it looks like back there. If you've never been to the Catalina foothills, first of all, the perps couldn't get through it. It is a bitch to walk around in there. Everything can stick you. There are big things that are going to reach out and pull clothing and skin off. It's not logical that you take her that far. She's going to die before you ever get to a car. You got to get her into a car as fast as possible. So the guy that went to the camera in the front and pulled it off did it just for more of that to throw people's off from going to the front. No, they took that off because when the car pulls up, you're going to be able to see what the car is. So they had to disable that car so you could pull the getaway car right in there. I'm suspicious of Cameron. Why did he leave so soon? Because maybe he thought, and I'll just throw this out there, maybe he thought and talked to the FBI who said, got to keep being nice to your brother-in-law. We're investigating this cat. I know it's hard, but you got to keep being nice to your brother-in-law. And he said, I'm going to kill this mother effer. And they said, maybe you ought to go back to Vermont, right? That to me would be a logical reason to send him back. And these people have families. It's not like they're walking around. In my opinion, the car was parked back there. It's very odd. You got to see back there. You got to see back there. I don't think there's no place to park a car back there, right? This is not a place you could drive through with a vehicle. You really got to get a look at what this looks like back there, people. You're not driving a car through there. And if you did, it would leave a hell of a lot of prints and you would have to take over a couple of cactuses. You would be running through things all over the place. You follow me? Has the time zone difference been considered when determining how long it took to contact Savannah? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely it has been. That wasn't the issue. The issue is whether it's 4 hours or 5 hours. And you hear her in the interview. Did you call the hospitals? We did that. You damn right you did that. By the time you contacted her, they were in the air looking for her. Like, they waited a very, very long time. A very long time. When backing out of the garage, there's room for the car to be right there by the gate. So there was a car already in the garage, is what you're saying, Addie V? They could have called her immediately after the call to the police, but to be honest, if I did not receive a call on the way over, I would be livid. So you're saying the car got there before they disabled the phone, the Nest camera phone in the front. Well, then we probably would have had an opportunity to see that. They managed to find the perp that was at the door. They would have probably been able to find the car that was pulled up in front of it. We can't assume that they just found that one frame. They looked for hours once they got to that level, and that's what they came up with. Brian Enton just released a video to show the terrain behind Nancy Guthrie's house. Go watch it. It would be difficult to navigate at night. I promise you. I lived in that neighborhood. I know how they're built. You're not allowed to mess with that land. Even though you own it, it belongs to nature. You can't take down cactuses. You can't do any of that thing. And just walking through that, even in the daytime walking through that, is a nightmare. I'm saying after she was dropped off, car came in way before. If it came in way before, then I think we would have seen it on the Nest cam from the front. But we'll see. Maybe you're right, Addie V. We'll have to see what happened. But taking the time to go to the front porch and stage blood droplets with an eyedropper that you actually extracted from a woman's face or arms or whatever, but they say it's aspirated, so more than likely it came out of nose or mouth, to capture all that and then drop it with an eyedropper, I've never met that criminal, man. That's a steely son of a bitch right there. I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. Right? With all the desire in the world telling you to get out of Dodge, you're going to stand in this woman's front foyer, right, visible to the driveway and the street if someone's looking, and sit there dropping drops. I don't know that passes the smell test with me, but could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. The fetish club was into drugs and the cartel. No, cartels don't sell drugs to drug addicts. Cartels sell massive amounts of drugs to drug distributors. You understand? When people say, well, there's drugs involved, it's probably the cartel. The cartel's never sold a dime bag. They've never sold an ounce. Cartels move millions of dollars of shit across the border. They make more money than Pepsi Cola, and they're not dime bagging shit out. There is a distribution chain. Cartels move dope. They don't sell dope. It may sound stupid, but they don't. They have an entire distribution chain. And if you piss off the guys at the bottom, they're not calling the cartels. They're going to beat your ass personally. They'll take care of it. And truthfully, it's more like the movies where they're going to go in there and kill them. No, they're going to write you off, not let you buy any more dope from them. They're paying $1 for something they can sell for 70. They just write you off. So you owe them 10, 20 grand. They may be out $360. They'll take it out of their profit. It's not worth coming up on the radar. I robbed every single Mexican drug dealer in the entire state of Nevada. No one ever went after me. They just cut me off and made it very difficult for me to ever buy from them again. Brian Enton walked through the area. Yeah, it's ugly. When you get back behind there, you wouldn't believe what they look like. It is not a pleasant place to walk. If you go and look at Johnny Scoville and I, we did some filming back there while we were eating fish that was rancid enough to kill someone. You remember that, don't you, Johnny? But we filmed back there. You should get a look at what it looks like. I've been trying to find a lost dog here in Santa Fe. You can't go more than a couple of feet off the pavement before there's all kinds of deadly brush. Yeah, and a lot of those places will at least allow you to modify it, right? Car came before the character did in the front porch performance. Well, then he would have been on film, right? That front porch performance was captured on film. If the car came before that, it too would have been captured on film. You follow me? They went through and they were able to find that day. In theory, you don't think that they just went, oh, there it is. We found nothing else. They peel back until they get to that layer and they found nothing. Boom, there's the picture. That's usually how that's going to work. So more than likely, they would have already found that. They and Miss Nancy, I think, were gone before the front porch performance. Then why have a front porch performance? If she's already gone, why come back and give them any shit at all? Without that stuff on the front porch, they're still going like this. They're still going, we got nothing. Now they're at least chasing things down. So you think all of that was staged in hopes that they're not going to be able to find anything about the guy's facial features or any of that that's going to trace back to him. You guys, no offense, but you watch way too much true crime on television. Guys they're not taking time to set up a false narrative. They're getting the F out of Dodge as fast as they can. Do me a favor, just once in your life, go break into a house you're not supposed to be in, right? Feel what it feels like to be inside that place. Even if you're a stone cold killer. I robbed a crap load of banks. I have been inside houses and just, as soon as you get in there, your entire body starts doing this one. It's terrifying to be in an environment that you know you're not supposed to be in. You feel like a foreigner. You feel like there's a million ways you're going to get caught. But to then go and stage this big, huge thing, which is going to do one thing and one thing only, turn this from a possible murder to an abduction that they call in the FBI on. Because you didn't want 50 people looking for you. You wanted hundreds, if not thousands. And then all of the eyes of the world on you. This is a bad way to stage a crime. It doesn't help. It brings in resources you can't imagine. You understand that murders get investigated locally. For real. But kidnappings, you bring in the federal government, right? And they don't care how much their budget goes over. The local people have to worry about shit like that. The federal government just goes, you got the president going, I don't care how much money you spend, find her. That's not what you want. As a criminal, there's nothing we're more freaked out about than the feds. They convict 98% of people that get in trouble. You don't want the feds anywhere near your case. What you're describing is a guaranteed way to bring in the federal government. And in all honesty, I don't see a perp doing that. If it turns out you're right, I'll do a whole show with your name on it. But I just don't think that passes the smell test as a retired criminal. I think neighbors, yard workers who were interviewed said he crossed her yard with a trash barrel. My prime suspect could remove in a barrel. If she was in a barrel, would she have leaked? You follow me? And I think that the reason most people say that is because they saw two lines that looked like something had been dragged across the pavement. The trash in the Catalina foothills, depending on where you live, is taken out one day a week. And my driveway to this day has marks from where I pulled that trash out. It'll be there long after everyone that has anything to do with that property is long gone. Because when you continue to move something, they don't have rubber wheels, they have plastic wheels. They make an ungodly amount of noise on pavement, right? You can hear your neighbor, and my neighbor was 200 yards away. You could hear him taking his trash down. I don't think that someone was going to be wheeling that around with 150 pounds in it at night, but maybe I'm wrong. Front porch camera view was blocked if came in on the garage side of the driveway. Performed to blow up timeline because no subscription. Sorry, I'll stop now. You don't have to stop. But again, how does it help the performance to blow up the timeline because of no subscription? No subscription, just go away. You don't need to blow up the timeline. Just go the F away. Why would you give them something else to investigate? Why would you? Because the people that showed up there, they're going to be a car somewhere. If you're there at the front, you got to leave. And it gives them a timestamp to start looking at all of the other places on. Your best bet is to go poof. Your best bet is not to create a fake crime for them to look at, complete with dropping droplets of blood that you had to gather out of a woman's nose. How do you reckon you do that? Right? You bop her in the nose, hold her face over something to bleed into, and get out your eyedropper? We're talking about, I don't know. I mean, maybe that makes sense to you guys. As a former criminal, if I could get out of there knowing they have no idea and there's going to be nothing on camera, that's the route I'm taking. I'm not going to feel the need to give them something fake to investigate. If they didn't do this, Addie V, if they didn't do any of that, how would they be worse off? If they didn't fake this and put the blood in the front, right, and fake the door cam nest thing and all that and show themselves on film, how would they be worse off if they didn't do that? Because to me, they'd be a shitload better off. Thank you for the support, Addie V, and I'm not mad at you. I swear to God, I'm not. It doesn't make sense to me from a criminal standpoint. It seems to me that it would be a very, very simple thing to just disappear. Derek Kaye is allegedly connected to Tommaso, Derek, and their numbers and texted. So there's no proof to the numbers and texted thing. And they are connected by one guy who put on a bunch of shows. He was a bit of a promoter. He had hired Derek's band. He had also hired Tommaso's band. I spent days on this. You can't put the two of them in the same place. You can't get any kind of connection prior to the day that they reached out to try to get paid to any of this. My gut would tell me that if they were connected, why is Derek going to take the pinch for this? And people go, because he would be on the hook for a murder. No, he wouldn't. I promise you he wouldn't. He'd be on the hook for trying to catch the Bitcoin. He wasn't at the scene. He wasn't part of the planning. He was just supposed to catch the Bitcoin. He's going to turn in the people that did this because that's going to get him out of trouble, and it's going to hand the FBI what they want, who are the people that stole Nancy. And they would give him a bag of weed and a free ride home, and they would tell him that. You're involved in this. We can make all of it go away right now. Give me the names of the people that did the kidnapping, and you ain't going to do a day. You understand? You ain't going to do a day. Tell us who was involved in this. He would have. And if he wouldn't have, then when they went in and said, did you do this? He'd have said, I want a lawyer. He's not that guy. He's a guy you got to hit with a phone book to get to stop talking. He would have turned in whoever his co-conspirators were on this, I assure you. Did he text them? He did. He bought, according to him, he bought that stuff from Tommaso has gambling debts. Where did you get that? I'm not being a dick, but where did you get that he has gambling debts? Because if you got it off a YouTube channel where they said he has gambling debts, there's no proof at all anywhere that this guy gambled. And unless you're gambling with a bookie, and the bookies are not super prevalent in places like Tucson, Arizona, right? They're still in places like New York, Chicago, really huge, gnarly cities. Tucson, no. Why not? Because there are casinos all over the place. You can gamble legally in Tucson. There are casinos in Tucson. They're owned by Native American tribes, and there are big-ass casinos. You also can gamble on this from anywhere in the United States. You want to place a sports bet? You can do that. So the real degenerates will blow through all that. And then when they can't make any more bets because they don't have any more credit cards or anything else, now they'll try to find a bookie. But it leaves a huge paper trail, and there is no evidence whatsoever that this guy has ever done any gambling. I know people keep reporting this, but try to find it legitimately. Not, hey, this guy said, but try to go find anything anywhere that shows this dude has a history of gambling. And I promise you, if you have a history of gambling, it's not hard to look up. But there's no, and he also doesn't have a history of drug use. Doesn't seem to be any of that. People report it all the time. And I would love for that to be true. I like this guy for the crime. I'd love if I could say, and he's a friggin' gambler. Like, that would make this really easily. But he's not a gambler. I wish he was, right? Because my biggest problem with this is still, what's the motive? Because honestly, even the motive that makes sense to me is they thought they were going to have this woman for 24 hours. They were going to get paid a pile of money, and they were going to deliver her home. And then he was going to wait for her to die. He was going to move into her house, and he'd have a ton of money. That's the best I can come up with. But I can't find gambling debts, drug debts, anything like that, or even people that say that, right? Outside of some YouTubers and some AI channels that will tell you, that he's a devil worshiper and that, he murders children. If you looked at the thumbnails today, I counted no less than 20 thumbnails that already said this case was solved. Solved! They already know who did it. Not my first phone call. There was blood, broken camera, open doors, reason to call 911. She was interacting with the police, answering police calls, and doing what they tell her. For 4 friggin' hours, I would have called before I got there. You're going through a checklist in your head. If you've ever had someone you love who's missing, you go through a checklist in your head. The first checklist is usually, I wonder if anyone who loves her heard from her. I don't want to waste my time. What if Savannah already knows where she is? She called Savannah and said, I'm not feeling good. I'm not going to the regular hospital. I'm driving over to that clinic on such and such. The first call, and you're the only person so far that I think disagrees with this, but the first call is to call the siblings. Did mom say she wasn't going to be around today? Did mom give you any reason to think she was leaving? To me, that's the first call. Before you ever call the friggin' police, you call your sister. Now, get caught up in it, I understand. But you call 911, you got to wait for them to get there. 911 doesn't go, be there in 30 seconds. Let's say it's 10 minutes. Catalina Foothills, let's say it's 15. What'd you do during that 15 minutes? That didn't occur to you that maybe I ought to eliminate just the outside chance that my sister knows where she is. You're in panic. You want someone to say, I heard from her. You'd have called your sister. You'd have called your brother. Have you heard anything from mom? That's logic. And you're never going to convince me it's not. You're never going to convince me it's not. Because again, it happens to me at least once a week. When my 84-year-old mother doesn't pick up the phone on the first ring, I get nervous. I call my sister instantly. Have you talked to mom today? Yeah, she's fine. She got out of the shower earlier. She just doesn't hear the phone ring. Call her again. In fact, you know what? I'll call over there and tell her to call you. I do it all the time. It's my first call. And nobody said to me, hey, she didn't show up. It's just her not answering the phone. Your first logical step is to call anyone else that could tell you a good reason why she's not there. And that usually would be loved ones. Perps don't go back to the scene to clean up anything. I promise you, perps don't go back to scenes. Besides, how long do you have to be inside to clean up a scene? They were there a shit long time. Perps don't go back to, it's the craziest and the most unbelievable feeling in the world. Even if you leave something at the scene. I know that happened to a friend of mine. And going back to do it, I said, yeah, I'll do it. For the right amount of money, I'll do it. And then we pulled up there and I was like, it's so dangerous and so scary to go back to the scene of a crime. Like, you might go by 2 weeks later to get this vicarious thing driving by, but I'm going to go back and re-enter the property that I got out of there safely. Not going to happen. Maybe in movies, not in real life. What if Nancy had been asking about a camera for her backyard to watch wildlife? What if she really wanted one because she was afraid? Well, that's a possibility. It's not what appeared on, on the interaction that she put up on that locals page, but you're right, it could be. Sons of Arthritis, ibuprofen chapter. Do the local law enforcement really have a missing person, or can they verify that never left voluntarily? Well, people who leave voluntarily usually lock their doors and they don't leave blood trails. You follow me? Normally, well, it's not necessarily stupidity, but it gives a really beautiful feeling of what happens in the fog of war. The number of people that have reached out to me with theories that I swear to God are absolutely fascinating, but that when you put them to critical thinking, you go, oh, maybe that doesn't make sense. I do it. I don't do it with you watching. I come up with harebrained ass theories about what could have happened. Then I sit down and I write them out. I read them to myself. I read them to Johnny Scoville. I'll bounce them off the wife, not the fish, the theories. Giggity. And I usually talk myself out of it when I start putting it to critical thinking. If Annie and Tommaso were involved, why did the perp need to case the house? Because I don't think they did it. I never said they went in there and committed the offense. The heart monitor didn't cut off at 2:30. It stopped being connected to the watch at 2:30. You understand the difference? It was continuing to work. It just wasn't uploading back to the base. You think it was a stab wound at the front door? If it was a stab wound in a lung, I guess that could have aspirated. But I have a feeling, since she was still hooked up to a pacemaker, if she had taken a stab all the way through a lung, we were going to see some really wild shit happening on that pacemaker. Hold on one second. It's not a problem, Addie V. Chris McDonough show said Nancy did not have her right medication. So I think it happened right after Nancy got home. I think it got out finally. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. So here's the thing. If it happened right after she got home, then we would have seen some really crazy spikes on her pacemaker long before the crazy one that we saw at almost 2 o'clock in the morning. What's the latest on Kayla? There really isn't any latest on Kayla. Kayla's not related to the family, first of all. There's no relation there. That was all bullshit. And she had a drug problem. She got a long criminal record, most of which was either selling stolen stuff or keep reading. Mystery Diva, if you had any idea how hard it is to keep reading, you guys are coming by pretty quick here. The longer this goes unsolved, the wider the speculation gets due to the lack of real confirmed information. True. And this happens in every single one of these. The Darwin Awards are tongue-in-cheek, internet popularized honor, recognizing individuals. Do the law enforcement really have a missing person that they can verify that never left voluntarily? So you think that that she left voluntarily? Well, she would have had to have bled on the way out, and she would have left every single thing that she loves and cares about behind. I don't think an 84-year-old woman has a reason good enough to say, I'm never going to talk to anybody in my family again. That doesn't pass a smell test. But she met somebody that was 67 and was so friggin' fantastic that she doesn't want to talk to anyone ever again like that. Why would she have left voluntarily and not contacted anyone? Yes, the billboards are still up, Paula McDonald. Everyone that I've talked to in Tucson says they wrote her off a long time ago. No disrespect. They said she's dead. We all know she's dead. That's really been the vibe I got. Now, I will say this. As an art teacher, did they ever go in and watch you take a pee? Tommaso and Annie owe $650,000 mortgage. He allegedly was taking cash out of her account with his power of attorney. He didn't have power of attorney. Everybody listen up really quickly. Ready? He didn't have power of attorney. The only power of attorney that has been verified in this case at all is power of attorney from Tommaso to Annie. He signed over all of his shit 8 months ago. There is nothing anywhere that anyone has found that says Tommaso had power of attorney over Nancy. This is a bullshit story that came out about day 4, and we're still going through it. There isn't proof that Tommaso had power of attorney over Nancy. Promise you.
Here's the question.
What?
Elizabeth Rogan says, why does YouTube hate you?
Why does YouTube hate me? That is a great question. Elizabeth, YouTube hates me because I say words you're not supposed to say. See, the advertisers don't want us to say rape, murder, suicide, drugs, heroin, cocaine, all of these things, and they go, ew, and they clutch their pearls. So they don't want to run the same kind of ads. So they don't push the videos out to as large an audience if you talk that way. And I do talk that way. They don't make you pee in front of people. It's very easy to pass a piss test unless it's somebody that is going to watch the stuff come out of your body. So it's very easy to take in a bottle of urine, stick it under your armpit and hold it there and then dump it into your test cup. So while I don't think the guy's on drugs, it wouldn't be hard to beat one. Well, I am happy to be getting you through work. I mean, honestly, it's great. It's almost like I'm blowing off work without having to blow off work, which is awesome. From what Savannah said in terms of when she had left oh, look at this. Thank you, Real Mikey. I appreciate you. When Savannah left to come back from her the person's house, she said late afternoon. Late afternoon. Now, even with the time change, right? Late afternoon. This happened at 11 o'clock in Tucson. At 11 o'clock. So you go 12, 1, 2, 3. You're starting to get into some times that are late afternoon. You're looking at 3 hours at a minimum, maybe 4. And we know that by the time she had called, they had already called all of the hospitals. They had already done a whole lot of things that, and again, tell you what, I'll stipulate to the fact that she called her 45 minutes afterwards. How do you not call your sister before you call 911? Hey, there's blood here. I'm freaking out. Did you hear anything from mom? Did she call you and say, I cut myself? I'm hurting. I'm going to the hospital. Your first friggin' call should be to eliminate who would mom call if she was in trouble? Maybe Savannah, maybe Cameron. Call them before you call anyone else. There were 7 minutes from the time they got there, allegedly, to when they called the cops. And if it was me, that 7 minutes would have been calling my sister, calling my brother. Mom's, there's blood here. Mom's not here. Nothing seems to be missing. Did she call you and say, I hurt my nose. I'm going somewhere. I bumped myself. Anything? No. Okay, I'm calling 911. What do I know? For real. But that's my logic on this. You don't have to agree with me. You never have to agree with me. I'll just block your ass when you leave. I'm kidding. Relax. If you're not rude, I don't care what your opinion is, as long as you're not rude. Was there no note or evidence to support a ransom? Certainly not in real time. Oh, wow, babe. That's such a great picture. You should see the picture my wife just sent me. I'd show it to you, but she has no clothing on. Tommy, you're absolutely right. I would be the first to apologize as well if it ends up not being, if I'm wrong, I got no problem coming on here and saying I'm wrong. And I'll tell you what, if it happens the next day, I'm still going to go with the logical setup. And the logical setup is always going to be following the numbers. You follow me? Do you follow me? Hold on a second. What I was trying to find here. If it happened the next day, I still would be on it. Sorry. Bear with me. Bear with me. This is kind of like saying that defendants didn't look upset in court, so they must be guilty. If they were innocent, I'd be very upset in court. Nobody's the same. Okay, Ann, so if it's you and you get a call, says your mom didn't show up and you're driving to the house, how many hours would it be before you'd call your siblings? This isn't what someone looks like. That's got shit to do with what someone looks like. This has to do with what logical people do when someone's missing. You go to a panic mode and you go, maybe she called Savannah and told her she got hurt. No, that didn't occur to her until after the police had dogs out looking for her. That doesn't make sense to me. And you're never going to make me think that that makes sense. I'm sorry. With all due respect, you're never going to make me think that that makes sense. Maybe the mom just wanted to relocate. Tommaso couldn't get her to like Baja, Mexico. Well, there you go. There was no note for ransom until days afterwards. Thank you, Christian. I really appreciate that. We'll keep a little free speech alive around here. That's all right. Even if we don't, I'm still going to do it. Do you think the perp could have had a taser in his pocket that they might have used to shock her? Not if they're smart. I mean, they could have. But believe it or not, tasers kill a bunch of people every year. And cops are usually not really excited about tasering anybody that old, right? Truthfully, because there's a risk of death with anybody. And it's not just because there's something wrong. It's usually a comorbidity. But people that age very often have pacemakers. That's not a good thing. Derek Kaye is allegedly connected to yeah. You know what? I just did this one, bud. No disrespect, but I just did this one. And I've done it.
Asked and answered.
Yeah, asked and answered. The guy, yeah, okay. Tommy, could these people been the guys renting the house on the top of the cul-de-sac? It's hard to rent a house and not leave a crap load of paper trail. I could see somebody hanging out in a house that no one was in, but I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. 3 hours difference in time, right? 3 hours overwriting anything that goes by, right? 3 hours is about what the thing is supposed to hold. She gets home somewhere around what? 9:50, I think they say, right? Right around 9:50. So you got, call it 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. We're getting into that time frame where there's been hours that have gone by. And there may still be stuff there because you have to unpeel it. Maybe a spiked glass of wine before heading home. You don't get a hat clown for that. That's actually one of the most logical things you said. No, I'm serious. That wouldn't be such a bad idea. No, says Mystery Diva. I didn't answer that. Mystery Diva, you're starting to piss me off a little bit. I assure you I answered it. Here, I'll do it for you again. So here's the deal on that. What I said was, tell me what makes no sense. And then I'm going to leave because I'm about to start saying things that are going to just sound really, really bad, right? What? If I thought she was trolling me, she'd already be gone. Tell me what makes no sense. Come on, tell me. Tell me what makes no sense. Tell me what makes no sense, please. Come on, it'll cheer me up. Tell me what doesn't make sense. Hey, Ruby, good to see you. Yeah, not only she did not tell her about she didn't call for a very long time. An 84-year-old woman staying up that late. I talked to my mother about this and said, what do you think the odds are? She said, I do it about 3 times a month. That was my mom's response. She said, I go out with your sister to this thing that they do with the church. And she said, about 3 times a month, I get home later than that. What the poster said. Yeah, you got to give me more than that. Now I'm done. I thought I was going to get something that I could work with. I don't know what the hell poster you're talking about. With all due respect, I have no idea. Could they have used chloroform? They could have. If so, she's probably not going to make it. Chloroform looks really easy in the movies, right? You pour some shit on a rag, you hold it over someone's face, they go out. How long do you hold it? There have been a lot of cases over the years where you hold it too long, it creates burn marks. It's very easy to kill somebody with chloroform. It's very easy. And when somebody already is that old and doesn't breathe well, I think it's not going to be a difficult thing with 2 people to subdue someone that's 84. But using a chemical or using something like that.
Does this smell like chloroform?
That's it. It's an old one. We've been working that one for years. Have they looked through Annie's camera? They've looked through Annie's everything. I promise you. If they did some dirt, they sure as hell didn't do it on their normal phones, all of that. In my opinion, this was done for inheritance. Well, I mean, that's kind of a go-to for me too, but it would be probably quicker to just let her die. I'm not trying to be an ass, but she's not in great shape. How long do you think she's going to make it? Because this is going to be tied up now for 3 to 5 years because there's a missing body. So, but I think the idea was it was supposed to be easy. No, we don't know that there were any other signs of violence other than the blood. We do not. A hit made to look like a kidnapping. Well, maybe. But here's the thing. if you want to kill somebody, I know I'm going to make friends and we'll leave it with this one. You walk in, put a silencer on the end of a gun, shoot someone in the head, turn around and walk out. If you're worried about DNA, don't let them touch you. Go in, put one in the head, walk out. That's a hit. When you take what looks like a hit and turn it into a kidnapping, you get 6 people that could be investigating this and turn it into the FBI coming into town and everything else going on. Tommy's guilty. Well, your opinion is probably, you're not the first person to say that, believe it or not. There have been some people that said my wife and I probably did it. So you're in good company. Wow, thank you. I appreciate you. And you look fantastic in green. You're so right about calling siblings. Well, not according to half of the asshats on planet Earth. I'm kidding. Take a deep breath. Tommy, they do not pee for test jobs in a school. They they do blood tests. I believe they have to do one every 6 months. Well, that's fantastic. They're really hard to fake. She bit him. She was a smart lady. Well, the blood's not from a perp. The blood is from her. So the blood that's tested, the only blood that's been tested so far is hers. We don't know what the inside of the house looked like. Bloody. The only blood that they say that they will let us know about said it looked very much like the outside, inside, and it was right near the front door. So it might lead you to believe that that's where the bleeding started. But again, this is all we have to go on. So who knows? And now, folks, if you knew the day I've had, you'd be shocked I came on and did this. This has been one of those days where you literally can't believe how badly the world and the universe has done me dirty today. But I wanted to come on and talk about this. Relatives would have been my first phone call. You and everyone else telling the truth, right? The cops should have said, have you ruled out everybody else in the family? Have you called your siblings, right? I want to know why the cops didn't say that. Maybe they did. And she said, no, I'm going to get a hold of them. Right now, I know I can't get them. And gave them some line of shit. And maybe that's why they're still, I don't know, people. I really don't. But I do know this. You've really let your uvula go to the dogs.
Nice.
No one's going to get that reference. And it's such a shame because it's such a damn good reference.
I got it.
Yeah?
It was great.
Who told you about me screaming in a pillow? Nice, Reese. You can't be trusted. Could the spike at 2:30 be AFib while we're leaving? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. So I have atrial flutter. And atrial flutter, I understand. I honestly don't understand AFib in the same sense of the word. The flutter kicks down and things start beating really, really fast. And I can't get it to go back down. Gate matches the porch guy. Yeah, a lot of people have said that. Brock Bandy made a hell of an argument for it one day. Hell of an argument. He had me totally convinced that the gate looked an awful lot like the way that neckbeard walks. But it's still the, right? It's still, there's only so much. See, I told you, you can't be trusted. You're welcome, B Rose. And that's my wife. You can go over to Relatable Reese because obviously she's leaking all kinds of secrets about me over there. Good looking out, woman. Between now and the next time I see you, if you don't go over there and hit subscribe, I just might not ever go live again. That goes just as big for my brother at, Chase the Heat.
They can watch you get tortured. Seriously.
You have sardines to look forward to, Tommy. It will get better. See, there's somebody that gets it. Woman, you wait till I got sardines on you the next time. You're in deep doo-doo.
You get tortured on that show.
What's that? Yeah, just for record, I do get tortured on Johnny Scoville's show. You might want to go over there. If you've never seen a man vomit 1 gallon of milk in 3.2 seconds in front of his mother, you just haven't left, right? Dub Bears. All right, people, between now and the next time I see you, say a prayer for this family and then say one for me because I'm not going to lie to you. I could use it. I'm Tommy. I'll see you on the next one. God bless and take care.